Jennette McCurdy, Sam from iCarly, recently published a book called I'm Glad My Mom Died, and that title has been a source of controversy for many people on social media. I've seen a lot of people say shit like this in response to the title. How can she say that about her own mother? You don't disrespect your mother like that regardless of how she treated you. And to that I say, so? She's entitled to feel however she pleases about her own mother. I haven't read the book, I've only seen little snippets of it that people have posted onto social media, but I have read and watched interviews where Jennette McCurdy has talked about her mother at length, and she said her mother practically forced her into stardom. So all of the abuse she faced at the hands of Dan Schneider, who she also writes about in her book, but she only refers to him as the creator, but come on, she's talking about Dan Schneider. But anyways, all of the traumatic experiences she faced throughout her acting career can be traced back to her mother choosing the kind of life she wanted her daughter to live. Her mother also brought upon an eating disorder she had throughout her teen years, all the way up until just a few years ago, because her mother was so obsessed with her keeping up a good figure. And perhaps weirdest of all, even when she was a teenager, her mother didn't allow her to bathe by herself. When Jennette was taking a shower, her mother would usually be in the bathroom with her. And those are just the instances that I can think of from off the top of my head. I'm sure there are way more stories that Jennette shares about her mother in her book. But I have to ask, to all the fucking idiots who are pearl-clutching over the title of this book, why does Jennette have to love a person like that? She cites her mother's death as the first time she ever felt free. And she says if her mother were still alive, she would still have an eating disorder more than likely. So if one is such a destructive force in a person's life, and then they die, I don't blame that person one bit for not feeling sad at all over their death. Oh, but that's her family. On top of that, that's her own mother. She shouldn't have those kinds of feelings for her mother because she's the one who gave birth to her. And to that I say, who gives a fuck? It doesn't matter the relationship you have with a person, whether they're your parent, your sibling, your significant other, whatever. If they're an abusive piece of shit, you don't have to love them. There are plenty of awful people out there who shouldn't be parents, but become parents anyway, and horribly mistreat their children. If a parent is such a negative force in your life, why do you have to love them? Well, because without them, you wouldn't even exist in this world at all. Yeah, thanks Mom, thanks Dad, for bringing me into an existence where you horribly mistreat me all the time. And I guarantee a lot of these people who are mad at Jennette for saying she's glad her mother is dead had wonderful childhoods, had wonderful parents, so they have no clue what it's like to have a parent that is such a negative force in one's life. Now, I'm not saying I live that life either. I love my family, I love my parents, but I can understand why one wouldn't feel that way towards their family, or a singular family member. Not everyone is fortunate enough to be brought up in a loving household. And in Jennette's case, she was stripped of a normal childhood by her mother. So maybe you yourself don't understand the concept of not unconditionally loving a family member because you have a wonderful family, and I'm happy for you. That's amazing. But not everyone is so fortunate, and you have to put yourself in another person's shoes to understand why they may feel differently about their own family, or a singular family member. If their family or a family member is abusive and does things like constantly pressure them into pursuing something they're not comfortable with, like becoming a celebrity at such a young fucking age, or encourage them into an eating disorder, or not even have the common fucking decency to respect their privacy while they're showering, imagine having to endure a person like that day in and day out throughout your childhood and teen years. And on top of that, they're your fucking mother. Someone who is supposed to be a positive force in her life, but instead is a source of abuse, and is obsessed with controlling every aspect of your life. So I have to ask, what the fuck is there to love? And why shouldn't Jennette McCurdy, at the very fucking least, feel relief over her mother's death? If a woman like that was my mother, and she croaked, I would probably feel the same exact way Jennette feels. No one, absolutely no one, is entitled to your love, regardless of who they are and what their relationship is to you. If you have a family member, even a parent, who is constantly awful towards you, you don't have to love them. Because if their actions and treatment of you don't reflect any love whatsoever, why do you have to show any love? And I also saw some numbskulls say, well, my parents were awful towards me too, but I still love them, so why can't she? Maybe, just maybe, it's because she's a different fucking person with a different perspective on how to view family members that were abusive towards you Wacky, I know. But to be honest, this line of thinking just enables abuse. Someone is an abusive piece of shit towards you, but if they're family, you gotta love them regardless. You just gotta take it. You're incredibly lenient towards the abuser and shaming the victim, and that's very fucked up. Jennette McCurdy is entitled to feel however she pleases about her own mother, because that is her own life experience. She's happy her mother is dead, and judging by what I've heard about her mother, I don't blame her for feeling that way at all. And if you have a problem with it, too fucking bad. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.